Coming up on Theater Talk.
There's a reason why small towns are small, because nobody wants to live there, you know? So
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
And I'm the show's producer, Susan Haskins. Now, Michael, I had never heard of Green Day before this season, and suddenly they are the absolute toast of Broadway.
Yes, with a terrific new musical called American Idiot.
Don't wanna be an American idiot.
Directed by the brilliant Michael Mayer, who won a Tony Award for Spring Awakening, of course, and who's been a frequent guest on Theater Talk. So welcome back, Michael. And you brought with you someone who's new to me.
But is a major rock star.
Much of the Broadway world. One Billie Joe Armstrong, I believe.
with an IE, yep, that's me.
A new composer and lyricist on Broadway. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Now, this is your Broadway debut, correct, Billie Joe?
Oh yeah.
And did you ever have, I mean, I know you've got this little career as a rock star.
Side project,
But has Broadway been something that you've always wanted to do?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think we started, doing the record for American Idiot, and I think it was the first time, we'd already been a band for about, 12 years or something, so we were kind of thinking in terms like we wanted to expand the idea of making an album because we didn't feel like anybody was doing it. So we had, we had this, we had this song called Homecoming, and we had the song American Idiot, and the song Homecoming was sort of about a day in the life of me, Mike, and Trey, my other band members. And it was basically, we were just taking 30-second clips and just adding them together, and we made this sort of beast of a song. It was like a 9-minute epic. And then we had the song American Idiot, which was, just feeling, alienated and feeling misrepresented in the Bush era.
Don't wanna be an American idiot. Don't want a nation under the new media.
And then we just thought, wouldn't it be great to make a concept record or a rock opera, and but also make it very political at the same time.
When you first heard American Idiot, the album, did you have any sense that this could be a musical?
Not immediately. I did.
You listened to it just because you like the music.
I was a big fan of Green Day, and I was listening to American Idiot a lot when I was making the movie Flicka.
Yeah.
And I was driving up and down the PCH, and that was the CD that was in my rental car. So I listened to it day after day after day. I couldn't get enough of it. And it occurred to me that I was having the same kind of relationship with that album that I had with any number of musical albums that I would listen to over and over and over again. So a little thing went off deep down in my reptile brain that said this could be a rock opera that could be staged.
Did you like the sort of classic rock operas like Tommy, Jesus Christ Superstar that I think many began as concept albums? Did you like these things?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I got a Jesus Christ Superstar tattoo when I was. It's right here. And I got
That's
it.
the logo for the show.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I had it. I got it when I was about 19 years old. And I never heard the record. But I just thought, wow, that's a beautiful image. It was in my friend's record collection, and then, but I just started when we wanted to start getting into like having more of a kind of a big monster theatrical piece or like rock theater. We had to start thinking outside of the box. So we started listening to different things like a quick one by The Who, Tommy by The Who, Ziggy Stardust, Spiders from Mars. We listened to songs from like West Side Story, things from Hair, and just to try to figure out. We were learning how the dynamic of like changing scenes, like in a song like Jesus of Suburbia, to go from something that is so completely intensely angry, and then all of a sudden something is, just drops down and is sort of, beautiful, like, you're trying to be more pretty or something.
Something gentle and tender to get the proper pacing of a musical. But you heard that in the album when you listened to it?
Absolutely. The more I listened to the whole record, I started to really parse out a narrative that was very compelling to me about this kid, the Jesus of Suburbia, waking up one day and realizing that this world he has inherited isn't really where he wants to be, and so he makes this journey to the city, and he meets St. Jimmy and this girl, and there's this triangle and an eventual homecoming.
So at the beginning of this show, they say, I don't want to be an American Idiot. I mean, it sounds trivial. This is a very well-known album, but I'm coming new to it. What does that mean? What do they not want to be? What are they running from?
At the time it was, there's so much information overload, whether it's, the things that you get from the internet. I think there was also the war in Iraq, where we were seeing reality television meeting, journalism and war at the same time, and seeing these journalists embedded into tanks and going in, and I was just thinking, man, this is not a video game, which that's what you see in a video game, and that's what was, and I was just trying to find out, like, well, what is it? What does this mean to me? Because I can't. I think one theme that's in my songs a lot, it's not necessarily anger, but it's the sense of feeling lost. And so with American Idiot, that's when we were. It was so there was something self-deprecating about it, and you're like, I don't want to be this, even though I feel represented or misrepresented. So, and then after that we were just thinking, like, well, who is this person and how does he break out? And the next thing after that naturally was Jesus of Suburbia, and then that was going down a very dark, time in my past, and giving it a character and a name to it.
It is very dark. One's going to, of course, see analogies to Hair as an influence that you've evolved from that. But in that world of drugs and free love, there's and more. There's a light sort of at the end of the tunnel. Whereas in American Idiot, it's these people start out, they're not happy. They're unhappy from the get-go.
But trying to find happiness.
Try to find happiness. Why is it different? Is the culture change?
Well, the big difference I would say between maybe the 60s era and and maybe now that we're in the 21st century, it's people didn't know better when the drugs and the sexual revolution, and that was all a brand new thing, and nobody knew what the repercussions were. Right now, an era that we live in, I feel like it's old enough to know better but too young to care, and that's kind of what comes across. I think Johnny, who the character that John Gallagher plays, he really kind of goes into this world where he's trying to find truth, trying to find something, a deeper meaning in life, just whatever, just give me something to believe in.
He's basically saying, I got to get out of this very stilted, boring life that I encase myself in.
Yeah, and it's like it's its own personal sociological experiment, because to break out of there's a reason why small towns are small, because nobody wants to live there, So you want something, you want to find more people, more interesting people, and find something and go out and at least strike out on your own. Yeah. And that's what he's doing, and he's trying to self-educate himself. And then, but at the same time, which a lot of people can relate to, is that you get into something where you go from self-righteous to self-destructive.
Yes, and he falls victim to drugs.
To the temptations of the city.
Yeah.
It's interesting, this comparison to Hair, and I'm wondering, Michael, with your great background in the classic musicals, I get a sense, American Idiot and Spring Awakening are both shows that are really pushing the musical theater forward in a way it hasn't been pushed forward really since, maybe with Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice when they were writing true rock musicals. And yet still, though, I'm always aware that a musical can't be totally about alienation and nihilism, that there has to be some lighter quality to it, because that's what people on Broadway respond to you? Do you draw on the traditions of the old musicals working in this new framework that you're in?
Absolutely. I was just saying the other day that structurally, even though this is like a punk rock opera, structurally, this is not that different from, say, Fiddler on the Roof. You have tradition, which is you meet the community, right? We have American Idiot. You meet the whole community. It's like a prologue. You're setting up your world.
Yeah.
The next thing that happens in Fiddler is Tevye talks to the audience. He says a couple things, and then he has his song, If I Were a Rich Man, which basically describes exactly where he is and what his hopes and dreams are.
The classic I Want song.
Yep, and so then that's what Jesus of Suburbia is. Basically, Johnny looks at us, he says a few things, he and his two friends introduce themselves a little bit, and then all of Jesus of Suburbia is basically them saying, this is who we are, and we want something more. We want to find what you believe, you know? I leave behind this hurricane of lies. I don't know if I'm allowed to say or not, but...
And we'll give you the Elaine Stritch dispensation.
Okay.
She uses that term on PBS.
Or
we
the
always
beat.
but you know what I mean? So it's actually, there's a classic structure to
So
this,
were
which
you
is what I
conscious of that
responded
while you did it?
Because you guys are the collaborators on the book.
Yeah.
Right. I became more and more conscious of it as I started delving into it. And once Billie and I talked, and he gave me the go-ahead to start developing my concept for it, and I went further and further into it, I realized how sturdy this gorgeous material was, and how much story it could hold, and how many different stories it could hold as well.
Do you, as the creator of these songs, do you give Michael? Did you give him free rein to do whatever he wanted to with them? I mean, how much over his shoulder were you looking at him? Were you ever worried that he might be too Broadwayized your sound?
No, it was all just a learning process for me. So, he took me to see Spring Awakening, and I loved it. And I remember, the first conversation I had, I was like, yeah, let's do this. And I think when someone is that creative and that passionate, and you have to kind of be hands off in a lot of ways, and let him do his thing, and that's what I put full faith into what his vision and what he wanted to do. And the first conversation we ever had was really funny because I go, "Do you have an idea?" And he goes, "Yes. But I'm not going to tell you."
Did you really?
That's an old Broadway director's ploy. He's been using that on everybody.
Now, why wouldn't you tell him?
Well, it was, honestly, it was so embryonic, that I didn't want to say something to him that was so unformed that it would sound puerile, when I really think that American Idiot, the album, is a masterpiece, and I was so passionate about it, and what I really wanted was for him to give me the opportunity to go ahead and start fleshing it out and come up with basically a scenario. So I really thought if I told you just the little shred of an idea that I had at the time, that you'd say, that's not so interesting.
And what was that shred of the idea?
The shred of an idea was that it would be 3 friends who all sort of at the same time recognized the pointlessness of their existence at that moment and recognized that they had a bad faith relationship to their country and that they wanted to change that. And that they would go into the world and somehow they would be separated and come back together.
Doesn't sound like a bad idea. I would have said yes to that if you told me right off the bat.
Yeah, I didn't really know. But it was mostly like emails and phone calls, and it was just sort of slowly coming out, and I just thought it was all a good representation of a lot of people's experiences, especially within the past 8 years, post 9/11 era, So I thought it was a great idea.
Now, you have one of the characters join up to the military. And Michael jokingly said to me, well, except for losing a leg, he kind of came out the best.
Yeah, actually, I thought in a way, because a lot of the sentiment of the songs, of course, anti-war, but looking at how the three characters end up, the guy loses a leg, but he's found a woman whom he loves and loves him. The one guy has not left the couch.
Right.
The other guy has gone into the drug hell and come out, but it's ambivalent if he's ever going to make anything of himself.
Right.
And at the end, the one guy you think who actually has gotten his life together is the guy who joined the military.
Yeah, it's ironic.
It's
that way.
ironic.
Is that intentional on your
It
part?
wasn't until I realized that his extraordinary girl would come home with him. And that was well into the process, like about a year ago, when that occurred to me. I actually find the ending kind of hopeful. Honestly, I feel like that all three of them, I think Will actually does get off the couch. You see that he makes this uneasy truce with Heather and her new boyfriend.
Oh,
and
I
he's
love
got
that.
And he's holding his baby. He's owning the fact that he's got this son. And I think that Johnny, even though he has screwed up his life completely, he did, there were two choices he could make. He could have continued down the path of self-destruction, and he actually killed off that bad part of himself.
And he gets off the heroin, which, as you just said, which is no small matter.
I think it's a big deal.
Is that theme, the ultimate optimism of the show, is that inherent in your work, do you think?
I like to try to find like a light at the end of a tunnel with, when I'm making an album, like our last album, 21st Century Breakdown, has a song called See the Light at the very end. But I didn't really know. I think like the part of, I think reflection is a really good ritual to go through in order to figure out who you are. You got to think about your past. You can't just abandon it, where a lot of people say, live in the moment, just go forward. Well, you need to have some, you need to take some lumps and bruises along the way, So, after Homecoming, which is like this sort of, bittersweet, glorious kind of ending to these guys' journey, then all of a sudden there's that reflective part with the song What's Her Name, where he's, Gallagher, he sings the line, I can remember the face, but I can't recall the name. And you're just like, and then that moment right there, like, just kills me every single time, because the way he delivers it, you're just like, he's like you're a fool, but you've also gained something. You're smarter because of the process.
Right. Yeah. No, it's an effective ending there, because it's not just happy ending.
Right.
Not
at all.
At the very, when he does say that, you're still a fool, and that's why I think you don't know if this guy's ever really going to get it together.
But the
Look,
only
if someone can say at the end of it, if they could say, don't want to be an American idiot at the beginning, and at the very end say, she was right, I am an idiot, then that is awareness.
Yes.
And I think self-awareness can only lead to something positive.
Right, and then that's the only redemption.
Now, are you getting young people coming to American Idiot thinking that Billie Joe Armstrong is in it?
We haven't.
You haven't?
I think maybe a little in Berkeley early on.
You don't get a sense of kids
little...
thinking that this is a concert?
No, we haven't had that, which is fortunate, since they would be really disappointed.
I want to move back a little bit to how you structured. You made the decision between you not to have lines, only to use the lyrics
Sung through.
of the song, had to be sung through, which I think ultimately turned out to be a very brilliant decision. But how did that work?
It was very tricky. I set myself up for a very difficult assignment. I knew that I wasn't going to interrupt the order of the record. That was absolutely a given for myself. And when Billie made certain other material available to me, as the characters started to take on their own dimensions and requirements, I found a couple B-sides from the American Idiot European release, which is Favorite Son and Too Much Too Soon. And then on one of the special packaging of the CD here, there were these really amazing journal entries that Billie wrote to accompany the CD, and I saw those, and I was like, oh my God, this stuff is great. I can use this interstitially in just little shards to just help place us where we are, and to just help organize the journey of these characters from song to song. And then, when they were recording their spectacular record, 21st Century Breakdown, he started sending me MP3s of the songs as they were doing the demos, and they were just blowing my mind. And I kept thinking, God, this would be great for Tunny. This would be a great thing for Heather. And so it started taking on.
And so you let him use the new songs in the musical that you were writing for the other album?
Yeah, I had a bunch of demos, and then because he was just looking to try to fill certain gaps and to tell a story. So I sent him, I think I sent you like 10 songs or something like that, and he's like did a little song shopping.
Yeah,
you know,
I was greedy.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Pillaging the catalog. Pillaging the catalog. Now, having gone through this experience of working on a musical, do you have any a musical based on songs that you had written for the concept album? Do you have any desire to write a musical, an original musical from scratch, where all the songs are written specifically for a Broadway show?
Sure, that'd be great. You know, I mean, you need a good story first. You know, I mean, I'd love to work with. If he ever had an idea, I'd love to work with Michael again with something. And you know, but yeah, it's definitely there's a certain, you know, like I said, I'm new to all of this. I'm like this, so this energy that people have, and and even the other plays that are being put on right now. It's like it's very infectious to me. Being around all these creative people, you know, constantly and. You know, it's like a drug. It's like you can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's the most enjoyable thing you've discovered about Broadway as a newcomer?
I just think just the people that are all the people that are involved. You know, it's Michael or Tom Kitt or Gallagher and Rebecca, Theo. You know, I mean, all the people that are in the cast, and how we just we've kind of. We've kind of opened our door to them, and they've opened their doors to us. So we've just been having a great time together.
Anything about Broadway you're ambivalent to, though? Have you shown him sort of the darker side of this business at all, Michael?
No, I've kept that hidden because I really want him to write that other show.
He's a very shrewd guy.
What kind of kid were you before you became a rock star? Before you started, as you became a poet, essentially, what kind of kid were you?
Pretty daydreamy. Kind a little lost, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been involved in music since I was 4.5.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of how I got into music to begin with, because I was doing this. I had this vocal teacher. And she taught me all these sort of classic Broadway and standards and things like that, and then which I never really said anything to anybody about, and then I started getting into punk rock scene in Berkeley around when I was 14, and so I just I've known Mike, our bass player, since I was 10, and wow. we've been in a band together pretty much since we met. So. The kind of kid I was, I don't know. I mean, kind of thrill seeker a little bit, but.
Were you angry?
Dr. Freud over here.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think kind of lost, know, but and angry too. I just think in terms of, just like coming from a bit of a broken home, and and I think that's the one thing that punk, being in the punk scene really. It allowed me to have is like something where I could channel that energy into something to try to make more sense of life, using anger and that feeling of being lost and channel it into songs.
This description of a childhood sounds like if you'd heard Gypsy when you were a kid, you could have become a show queen rather than a punk rocker.
He could have.
Very close, these two sorts of things.
He does a mean version of Together Wherever We Go. Just so you know.
Do you really? What's your favorite of the classic Broadway songs? The standard catalog that we all know by heart.
Oh God, I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite. There's certain things like ever since talking to Michael, there's been jogging my memory. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't thought about in the past, and I did the Al Jolson medley, you know, California, Here I Come to Rockabye Baby.
Oh, yeah.
And I did, you know, songs from Oliver, you know, like Where's Love, and I did Kids from Bye Bye Birdie, and Gypsy.
I'm telling you, scratch a rock star,
And you
find
find-
a show queen.
It's true. It's really true. I could see a Green Day cover album of the great hits of Broadway's golden age. You could be doing it. Be fascinating. So, well, listen, American Idiot is a new addition to the classic American musical theater. It is at the St. James Theater now, directed brilliantly by Michael Mayer and written by a newcomer to the scene, Billie Joe Armstrong. Thanks for being our guest tonight on Theater Talk.
Thank you very
much.
And good luck with the show.
Thanks a lot.
Summer has come and passed. The innocence can never last. Wake me up when September ends. Ring out the bells again, like we did when spring began. Wake me up when September ends.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Alan S. Gordon Foundation, the Corey and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.